Hello traders and welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to be talking about a potential trade to the sell side. Well, you can just see it triggered right there. A sell trade that I have open now currently on GBP USD. I'm going to talk a little bit about the why, and I'm going to talk a little bit also about the overall kind of condition right now on GBP USD pairs. This is a really hot and heavy topic in the currency market right now, as the GBP pairs have been moving very heavily to the upside. Now, I was looking at a weekly chart just there. You could see this is a weekly chart, and the overall trend on GBP pairs has been very bearish. So in this video, I'm going to share a little bit of the reason behind why I'm taking a sell trade here on GBP USD, and we're going to break down the wheres, whats, and hows of this trade going forward, as well as monitor how it goes from here. So stay tuned. Let's go ahead and get into the video right now. So GBP USD long-term has been a very heavy sell market, right? There's been a lot of bearishness on this particular currency, and for the most part, the sell trade side of things has been very profitable, very successful. My bias on this pair has been, and still is at this current time, bearish because of some of the Brexit stuff. Now, again, this is a weekly chart, and so when we kind of pull this over, you can see we're looking at a weekly chart, and the bearishness here has been very strong. I actually wanted to point out a long-term trend line, though, that is also part of the reason I'm taking a sell trade on GBP USD currently. You can see that price is with this trend line here from this level to this level, you can see that we have a strong sell zone area, right? Price has bounced off multiple times, or twice there significantly on this long-term trend. And now what I'm looking for is some sort of rollover here going forward for price to kind of find resistance along that trend line. Now, will we get it? I'm not sure, right? And so part of the reason that I'm taking this trade with such small positions is I'm using only a 0.03 lot size on a relatively larger account than that. There's a reason for that. It's because with all the volatility around Brexit, there is the possibility that I will be wrong. And even if this video is unsuccessful, right? Even if the trade doesn't go well, my goal with this video is to actually share a trade, whether it's profitable or a loss, on this GBP USD trade. And I think that part of it comes down to right now, people are so overwhelmingly bullish on GBP USD due to the fact that there might be some sort of Brexit agreement, some sort of kind of ties there that might improve things for the GBP, which is a pretty good fundamental reason to see some bullishness. The problem then becomes, though, in the short term, traders can get overly confident on a bullish move. And that's exactly the type of trade that I'm looking to take advantage of, is potentially that enthusiasm or that ecstatic overbought status of the GBP pairs. Now, I could totally be wrong about this, and that's why I've used such a small position size to take this trade. So my idea here is that there's a couple technical reasons as well as a fundamental reason that I briefly just touched on. So if we look at the technical reason, you can see that this zone here, let me see if I can highlight this. That's a pink zone, so let me fix that. Let's make that red so you can see this. So my reason is primarily for that daily as well as that weekly chart. On the weekly chart, I showed you that long-term trend to the downside, right? That's kind of the trend line that we're looking to play off of in terms of the sell trend status or the sell pressure long-term, that momentum. We're looking to potentially take advantage of that. But there's also this technical zone here on GBP USD. You can see that price here was acting as a supportive level, right? Buyers stepped into this price and took a buy trade there, pushing price heavily to the upside. Okay, that's great. Well, then price started to continue to that downtrend. We saw that sell off on GBP pairs, and we found resistance here, right? Sellers held this level very nicely and pushed price lower very strongly from that level. So now as price comes back to that level, I'm looking to see some sort of a response as price makes its way back up into that area. So I'm looking to sell along that structure point that I just mentioned, right? So this level has been tagged a couple times, and I'm looking to see that price could roll over after the fact, right? So after we see price come into that resistance, I'm seeing if price will hold that level and sell off. So that's kind of the technical reason, but there's also, two main fundamental reasons here that I'm also taking this sell trend trade. Again, we mentioned the weekly chart. So that long-term bearish fundamental side of stuff on the pound is one of the reasons that I'm looking to take advantage of this sell opportunity in the market. So that's part one. Part two, I guess you could say, is that there's a positive swap for holding GBP USD short. You get paid to hold this pair on the short side at the time of making this video. And finally, the most important in my opinion is that on the short term, this is looking a little bit overbought, right? Price is looking a little bit stretched to the upside due to the fact that as a market kind of makes its way up and traders are extremely bullish or bearish about a market, right? What happens is emotion gets involved. So what might be happening right now, I'm not saying that it has to be because we could see the GBP pairs continue higher, but right now what it seems to be is that people are chasing the price. They're buying into this thing and adding to positions or opening new positions when it might be a little bit late to the party. So by the time that this market has been moving up like this, you can see if we actually count this out, let's see how many pips it's moved since that recent low. So since its recent low, it's moved up just about 575 pips in a matter of days. And a lot of times, guys, when you see markets reacting like this, there comes a point where things get a little bit stretched to the upside. And so to me, I'm looking to not necessarily be a pessimist or to say that it can't happen and that I'm saying fundamentally that it won't happen for a Brexit deal or some sort of thing like that, right? That's not what I'm trying to say. What I'm trying to say is that in the short term, there's some trading opportunities that I'm going to look to take advantage of. We actually caught a sell trade recently on the pound. In one of my recent videos, I actually posted a trade that I took right here where we sold into this zone. There was a significant level of resistance there. Price came back and we took profits right around this area here. Well, you might ask, well, how did you know that price was going to come back? I didn't know with absolute certainty. There's no such thing in the trading markets, but I knew that price was going to at least respect or potentially respect this zone here. This previous level of resistance might act as support on a major break. So going forward, I need to be careful seeing how this price trades from here, that if price rolls over and gives me a chance to take profit, I'm going to take it because still there is that potential that the fundamentals have started shifting and that we might see a continuation of bullishness on the pound. So again, I'm looking shorter term here. I'm not necessarily saying that the pound is going to fall from the heavens and go all the way lower than it has in several months. But what I am saying is that for the most part, the pound is looking a little bit stretched. We've come into a level of resistance that I like, and I'm willing to take a very small sell position here on my account so that I don't kind of risk the whole farm just going on a sell trade here. A lot of times you're going to see people losing a lot of money trying to fade big movements like this, often because they're trying to get involved too heavy, too soon, and they're not willing to be wrong about the trade. I have ways to get out of this trade. As you can see, I'm not using a stop loss on this particular account, but I am using very small positions and I'm using other methods of managing my risk and getting out of the trade if things go against me. More on that later. Maybe we'll see that happen in this video if the trade goes against me. Hoping to see, however, that we do respect this zone in some way, shape, or form, and then we see some bearishness come into the pound and push us lower for the time being. That's what I'm going to be looking for here on the pound. I'll keep you guys updated as the trade unfolds going forward. Okay, traders, so taking a look here at pound dollar, you can see we're up about 20 pips on the trade so far. We're looking at the daily chart and price has moved so far pretty nicely for us along the direction. We're holding this zone for the time being, and we're looking to see that this price rolls over further. Now, if price comes down to our take profit, you can see I've got it at a $71 profit. If price were to completely fall over and roll over all the way down, we would make $71. I know that doesn't sound like a lot on a big account or a bigger account, right? At 96.50 or whatever the account is, 96.70 just about, right? I know that doesn't sound like a lot, but the idea here with this account is to do it on low risk, is to grow the account on low risk and to compound these small gains into bigger ones over time, still maintaining the low risk possibility of blowing accounts, of kind of drawing down the account significantly. I really want to keep that drawdown as low as possible. I'm more interested as a trader in keeping my drawdown under control rather than doubling and tripling accounts. The sooner for me that I discovered that and the sooner that I started focusing on the drawdown rather than the reward, or focusing on the risk rather than the reward, I became more consistent. I became more successful as a trader in full. Now, it doesn't mean I was doubling and tripling accounts once I realized that. It meant actually the opposite. I stopped looking to double and triple accounts and I started going for realistic small gains over time, stacking them on top of each other and scaling accounts and compounding them. So anyways, with this GBP USD trade, we're seeing if we can hold this level of resistance. If so, price will start to roll over. If it goes against us, Then we have some other opportunities. I might look to get short again. I have another technical zone that I'm interested in selling again. If price goes a little bit higher, if we stretch further, then okay, I will be able to get a little bit more on my position. Again, this is a very small position, and I would like to scale in if price gets stretched a little bit more into an overbought state. That's a little bit of the mindset behind the trade. And with that, if price goes against me, then I'm going to adjust my take profit here a little bit along the way and make it a little bit easier. If I do average up my position here, I'll look to kind of scale, a secondary trade if price goes against, and then I'll move my take profit accordingly. I'll keep you guys updated if that happens. Otherwise, if price rolls over, then we'll look to take a profit here, initially of $71, and we'll adjust that going forward depending on what the trade, how it goes. Now, I do want to mention one thing that I actually did on my Instagram story. If you do not follow me on Instagram, it's TraderNickFX is my username on Instagram. You can follow me. I do all sorts of cool posts with my editor, and my staff help me run that behind the scenes. And we also do some stuff in the story. As you can see here, we were taking a look at the people following my Instagram. I said, do you think the GBP USD is going up or down from here? And of course, I'm in the minority group there. I think that the trade might go down, at least for the time being. I think things might be a little bit overbought in the short term, that we might see some sort of a pullback. And so I was going against the crowd here, but still interesting to see what people were saying. Sometimes it pays to go against the crowd, even though, I don't necessarily think that they're wrong completely. We are seeing some bullishness on the pound. I think that short term, we might see a pullback or some opportunity for a short selling opportunity that could give some nice profits. So we'll see how the trade goes from here. For now, I am off to bed. We're going to see how this trade unfolds going forward, and I'll get back to you guys with an update soon. Okay, traders, taking a look here at GBP USD, price has gone against us. You can see we were in profits here about, what is that, if we can grab how many pips this was, just roughly 100 pips really in favor of our position. Now, remember, these positions are very, very small, and even as price goes against us here, negative 45 pips or so, you can see the price is only down $16 on the account. So really nothing too big of a deal there. Now, if I back up still here, you can see GBP USD did take a dip. As I mentioned, we saw a pullback here in the market, and unfortunately, I didn't get out of the trade. I was asleep during this time, and by the time I woke up here, you can see price had gone back up to recent highs. And so going forward, what am I going to do? Well, for now and for the time being, I'm not going to do anything. I'm going to be patient with this position. I still have the same thesis or bias that I had when I took the trade yesterday evening. And so now I'm just going to be patient with the trade. I'm not going to stress out. I'm not going to, move targets around. I'm not going to do that just yet. I'm going to wait and I'm going to see what the market decides to do before I make any sort of quick decisions with my next trades. One of my first inclinations when things go right or when they go wrong is just to chill out and wait, right? Don't force anything. A lot of times people think that as traders, you have to be constantly acting. But sometimes for me, patience and just letting the trade play out for a little bit is really, really valuable, especially when you were working on these 4-hour and daily charts. Price can move kind of slow, and if you're not patient, then you'll do something quick and you might make a terrible decision. You might add too many positions really quickly, or you might close out just because you're fearful, or you might close out because you're just trying to close out some profits really quickly. And sometimes the best thing for us to do is, again, just be patient. So going forward, going to see how this trade unfolds from here, and I'll keep you guys updated. Okay, traders, so GBP USD did end up going further against us, but remember, I had a secondary position up here that I had mentioned briefly, and it actually got triggered. What I realized is the problem with me doing videos on GBP USD is that I'm from Atlanta on the east side of the US, and while it's mostly moving is when I'm sleeping, because during the London session, the GBP pairs really get moving. And what you can see here is that the price did move while I was asleep up into this limit area. We got filled on this position. This is the level that I had pointed out earlier that I had a limit in. So if price came up against me, then I was willing to add to a small amount of my position at another resistance level that I really, really liked. Now remember, you can't just go blindly doing this. You have to do it if you're going to add, in my position, to another position, right? If you're going to add another position to your overall trade, then you have to be very, very cautious about doing this. You have to use very, very small positions, and you really have to be prepared to cut your losses if you need to, right? So that's exactly what I'm going to be doing. On GBP USD, it actually worked out very, very nicely. You can see, if we look over here at the panel, you can see that price is currently up nicely in our favor. So Our secondary trade is helping us out quite a bit here as price falls from there. You can see price came up into that area and currently up about, let's see if I can get a pip count on that secondary trade. On that second trade, we're up about 85 pips, so not bad at all. So nice little turnaround as price popped into our zone of resistance and held it very, very nicely. In fact, let me zoom out and I'll show you guys. This is kind of the level that we were looking for. We're looking for some sort of response on this area here. And you can see we did get that. Price came up into that area and we found sellers hanging out willing to take a sell trade on this, which ultimately pushed price down. So from here, I have some options, right? I could close out my position and deal with some of my risk, right? Take off some of this risk by just closing out the trade. You know, the price is reversed nicely and it could go back up, right? But there is also the option of waiting to kind of try and see if I can get a little bit bigger of a win. I still have that same thesis on the pound. Although it's very, very bullish in the news right now and nobody wants to be selling, for me, a lot of times that can mean that there's some good selling opportunities because everybody's crowding in on the buy side. Well, there might be some sellers that might be hanging around and waiting for that opportunity for price to get really, really overbought. And that's really why I liked this position, is because if price was overbought here and I thought that, well, then if price goes further and it comes into another level that's even stronger for me, then I'm happy to take a secondary sell. Remember, guys, the key here is that my positions are tiny. They're very, very small relative to the account. That might mean that I'm not going to make $1 million on this account really quickly. But what it also means to me is that I'm doing it on low risk and that I'm going to keep my drawdown relatively small. In the last year, I think the most drawdown I've had was about 6 or 7%. And that was kind of because I was choosing to be a little bit more aggressive, right? The drawdown thing to me is very, very important. I like to try and trade as if I were trading a professional, account or a hedge fund, right? I try and think of that as I'm trading because that's how I want to trade for the long term so that I'm consistent and that I'm still here in 10 years, right? Keeping those positions tiny and working with positions and, dealing with them when they go wrong, right? So I'll let you guys know what I decide to do here on GBP USD. At some point, I may just close out the position and take the profits that I have and be happy and move on without taking any further kind of risk on the account. I did have a Euro New Zealand trade that I will also show really quick. I did not talk about this on the video, but I also had a secondary trade that triggered here on Euro USD, and I'll just talk about briefly. We actually, let's see if I can pull up on Euro New Zealand here. You can see we did have, if I go to the account history and go to just recently, we had a nice trade here on Euro New Zealand that I had another secondary trade level that I really liked. So is it going to work out every single time? No, there's going to be times where you take a secondary trade. That one also goes against you and you have to deal with a loser in that case. But this is just my style, guys. I know it's not for everybody and I'm not forcing it on anybody. It's just the one that works for me. So we took a sell trade on Euro New Zealand at a significant level. We were looking for that triple top to hold. And you can see we did not actually get it. We got a secondary entry up here. So price, we actually caught the fake out on Euro New Zealand very, very nicely. And we closed out profits this morning of about $66 in profits, let's say there. So pretty happy with how the account's going. We're growing it very, very steadily and things are looking up for now. So we will see how things go on GBP USD going forward. If price decides to fall further, then I'll look to close the position with a profit. And for now, just going to be patient with the trade and not rush anything. So I'll get back to you guys soon with an update. So GBP USD decided to just roll over here right away. You can see we're up about 46 pips here net, and we're up about $48 on the profit, and that's good for me. I'm going to take this position and close it out for a profit. You can see there it is, about $70 on the secondary trade and $25 on the first trade, and we'll just take the profit. We'll just, it's painless. We're out of the trade. The trade was profitable, the trade was successful, and we did accurately call that on GBP USD that this was perhaps a little bit too emotional to the upside. We saw a lot of rush to push upwards, and again, guys, it's not something that I'm always going to recommend. I'm not going to say you should always be fighting the trend. That's not necessarily what I'm trying to do. In fact, I'm trying to catch a piece of the longer term trend to the downside at this major pullback level. And that's exactly what ended up happening. We got a beautiful trade out of GBP USD and grew the account very, very nicely off of that trade. We're up to $9,776, which is really, really nice for me on the account. I'm really happy with that in the span of a few weeks, really. We've just been having a lot of winning trades, and it's not even usually usually that fast of winners, to be honest. You know, there's times where we have to deal with losers, and that's part of trading. But we did accurately call that GBP USD trade. I'm going to send out an update to VIP members who were involved with the trade, that they can choose to close the trade if they want to follow along, or they can keep it open. For me, I'm just going to take that profit. I'm just going to lock that in because GBP USD right now is absolutely crazy volatile. So I don't want to risk holding those positions. So I'm happy to just take a profit there of around, what was that? $45 profit, something like that. We had that's Euro New Zealand, and we had about 40 something dollars there on GBP USD. I'm happy to take that trade, close it out for a profit, and move on to new opportunities. What this means to me, what makes me so happy about closing out profitable trades and moving on, is we just stack these small wins and we build them over time. And that's really what the community is all about. We talk all the time about scaling money over time rather than trying to do it all at once, right? A lot of people are coming into the Forex market, they're using huge leverage, and they're very excited that they have 1,000 to 1 leverage or 500 to 1 leverage, and they're just sitting there, you know, throwing money at their account that, you know, is extremely leveraged, and it can very quickly burn accounts. In this case, we're doing it on low risk and doing this for the long term, which to me, having that timeline of increased time to build the account is to me a very relaxing thought. It's like, okay, I don't have to do this right now. I don't have to live off my trading account today. I can build wealth and compound that money over time. Now, this is not my only trading account. I have multiple trading accounts, but this is the one that I make public just because I don't like to share, you know, all my personal finances on the internet. But with this one, I'm very, very happy with the growth that we've seen. I have we've gone from about 94.50 on the account is where we started. And so we're up a few $100s, which to me is just absolutely amazing. It's like, you know, it's very hard you couldn't do that in your bank, right? If you just store your money in a bank on low risk, you get like nothing. You get like 2% a year, something like that in the United States. It's really, really low, right? And in this case, in just a few weeks, we made about 3 or 4% on this account on very low risk. And to me, that's what it's all about. Keeping that risk low and keeping those rewards coming in, right? Scaling the account. You can see we're just taking a lot of quick profits here, a lot of small trades just stacking up and adding to the account. You can see there's the initial balance is 94.68, and we're up to currently 97.76, which to me is absolutely great. I'm very, very happy with that. I'm very content with that movement. It doesn't need to be any faster for me. I don't need to be, you know, swinging this entire account and seeing it double and triple and then also fall back to zero really quickly. That's not appealing to me. I've been doing this for a long time. I know a lot of successful traders, and generally the consensus is slow and steady gains on the account. Even if you're taking just the occasional winner and it's much bigger than your losses, that's another style that can work for people. But for me, I like the mentality of just going through my trades and seeing that, okay, a lot of these are just closing out for small gains and we're building the account. That to me feels very, very good. And that's how I like to trade this account. So this is a new account. Again, we started late September. We're about a month in and we've gained a nice, I want to say 3 to 4%. So to me, that's really, really great. And if that's, you know, consistent, then we'll continue to compound the account with that. And over time, it will grow. So that's all I've got here, guys, on pound dollar. Thanks so much for watching. I know this is a little bit longer of a video. I hope that you got something out of it. Again, I'm not expecting that everybody's going to trade the same way as me, but I do ask that if my trading is interesting or helpful or kind of just entertaining to you, make sure you like the video down below. That does help to grow the channel, and subscribe if you're new so that you can come back and see more content in the future. Guys, have a great rest of your day, and we'll catch you next time.